And then I was like, okay, I think I'll do their introductory course, 3 weeks. And I said to my friend, but I'm not ready. And he said, firstly, you need to stop thinking you're not ready. You'll never be ready. I'm not ready. You will never be ready. Sign up for it. And it was quite late one night. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll sign up for it.
Hey there, welcome back to the Career Therapy Podcast, where we are exploring the hidden side of modern work. I'm your host, Martin McGovern, and founder of Career Therapy. Today we are chatting with Eleni Nicolaides, who is joining us from the UK to share her story of breaking into tech without breaking the bank. So how do you do this in an affordable and smart and strategic way? I'm really excited to share her story with you. So I hope you'll stick around and take a listen. Before we jump into it, if you enjoy what we're building here, I hope you will subscribe and share this episode with folks. Maybe even leave us a review on iTunes if you're feeling up for it. And without any further ado, here's our conversation with Eleni. Thanks for joining us today. I'd love to, give us a little breakdown of where you're at with things right now and what you're working on.
Yeah, sure. So my name's Eleni. Most people call me Eleni. I'm currently living in the UK and I quit my job last June to pursue a career in tech.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
Well, I'm super excited to learn about how you've been approaching breaking into tech, because it really is something that a lot of folks are trying to do. And especially with the pandemic, it's really caused people to reassess their careers and reassess what they're doing, whether it's a layoff or a furlough or quitting. There's all this change happening, right? And tech is the big shiny object in the room, right? What was your mindset kind of deciding, that this was the right direction for you?
Yeah, so what happened, I got furloughed in March, and about April or May, I heard that there was this initiative from the government here in the UK where there were lots of different courses that you could do for free. And I'd heard a lot of buzz around Python, the programming language. I didn't know anything about it, but it seemed to be interesting. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll give Python a go. And I signed up to an open university course. And then I spoke to my friend who's a software engineer in Greece. And he said, well, I understand Python, but if you go with JavaScript, HTML, and CSS, I can help you more. And I went, okay, I won't do Python, I'll do that. And he sent me a YouTube video, which was meant to be introductory. It was about 3 hours. I got through maybe half an hour and I was like, I don't understand this. I know it's English, but it's a completely different language. I need to strip it back even more. So then I got a child's book for JavaScript. And my goal for the year was just to get through the book, to I kind of have or thought I had a phobia to do with like books and studying in that way. And I was like, I'm going to tackle it. I'm going to do it. And then about 2 months on, I thought, okay, I feel a bit more comfortable now, but I need something a bit more fast paced because I'm not really getting anywhere. I hadn't gone into an IDE, which is like a coding editor, because I was too worried. I thought I'd break it. So then I'd heard about She-Codes, I think, in May. And then I was like, okay, I think I'll do their introductory course, 3 weeks. And I said to my friend, but I'm not ready. And he said, firstly, you need to stop thinking you're not ready. You'll never be ready. I'm not ready. You will never be ready. Sign up for it. And it was quite late one night. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll sign up for it. And in the morning, I got an email and they said, you haven't actually paid for it? I was like, oh, okay, I'll pay for it. I paid for it. And I said to my friend, but what if I fail? Like, failure isn't an option for me. That's how I'm wired. And he went, well, you might fail. That's just part of it. If you do fail, he said, I'll pay for it. I was like, no, I'm not gonna fail. It wasn't a lot of money. I think it was like £80. I don't know, in maybe $100. So I was like, okay, I'm not gonna fail, but thank you. So I did it and I immersed myself into it. I was starting to like code in the morning to see if I like to be a morning person, code through the night, just trying to figure out what way I like coding. But I remember thinking, I like this is enjoyable. I want more of it. So maybe like a week into it, I was like, I sent a message to one of the staff saying, I think I want to do more of your courses. I think I want to have a call with your CEO so that I can talk about my options, what way to go. And we had a chat and I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. That's great. So I did two of their, they've got 4 courses. I've done 2 of them. I'm in in between the third one, and once I've done the third one, I'll do the fourth one. It was a roundabout way of saying I'm doing all their courses, but I'm taking breaks in between because that works for me. So there's all different ways of approaching it.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, I love what you laid out there. That whole story is like, it really is about exploring your curiosity, taking it in chunks. I think so often we feel like we have to do everything all at once.
Yes.
When we make a change, we're like, oh my gosh, I need to, join most of the people I work with, right? They join a boot camp and they just drop $10,000-$20,000 to make this huge career and life change. And it's a lot of times overwhelming. Like, one of the things that I think is it's so interesting what you just said. It's like the government even has programs for you to like learn for free if you really want to. And that doesn't really happen here in the United States, right? Like everything is so expensive. And one of the things that I see people doing is they almost use education as a way to procrastinate the job search. And so they'll say, I need another degree or another certification or another program.
Yes.
They're dropping $10,000 and $20,000 and $30,000. And I'm just like, stop, you're driving yourself into a hole, but you're taking it so strategically. It's like 100 pounds or $100, 80 pounds. That's reasonable, right? That's a reasonable introduction into this world. So it's just exciting to hear you say that.
Oh, thank you. So actually, I hadn't actually realized that they even did a free introductory hour on She Codes, but I was so pumped. I was like, oh, I've got to do the first one. So I did the first one and then I broke it down. So I think all my courses came to maybe £1,000 for all of them, because I have heard about these boot camps where you do 3 months, it's £7,000-8,000, and then some people get jobs immediately, but I don't think that is something that I don't think that's the norm. And I think also with online platforms, people are going to curate what they portray. So they say, oh, I went from zero to hero and, I've got it. But it doesn't always work like that. And you have to break into it because it's a new language. Like if you were learning a foreign language, like I'm learning Swedish, or if you're learning something else, it takes time. You're not going to be fluent just a 3-month. You could if you're that kind of person, but the norm is you have to work at it. So I'm trying to kind of immerse myself, but slowly in a way that works for me. And it's not just the coding, it's all the background work. So coming onto LinkedIn, I didn't have LinkedIn for a very long time. I was a bit apprehensive about having it again. And then I was like, but I want somewhere to have my courses, because I knew that I could link my certificates from She Codes to LinkedIn. So that was the first reason I got it. And I remember I actually connected with someone else from She Codes pretty much after I made my account. I was like, oh, I like it here. And I've built my network, not massively compared to other people, but from having not having it at all. Say this time last year, I've got nearly 900 contacts, which I guess is okay.
It's pretty good. It's a good start,
it's
right?
Okay.
Well, and you got to think this is a lifelong process, right? It's 900 now, but in 10 years, it'll be totally different. And one of the things that you called out there, I think is really important. These boot camps can be very helpful, and people do get jobs from them. But what you're doing by taking these courses, by doing it on your own, is building and I like how you said, I was coding in the morning, I was coding at night. I was trying to figure out where I code best, when I code best. And what happens with a lot of people that go through boot camps is after they graduate, they join the boot camp because they needed accountability. They needed someone to kick them in the butt every day and give them a schedule. And then as soon as the boot camp ends, they don't have a schedule and they don't have any process. So they go right back to not doing anything. And then 6 months go by and they haven't coded, they haven't learned anything new, they haven't taken any additional deep dives into things. And so what you're doing, let's say, something changes and you do take a boot camp, you've already built the self-discipline to make you more successful in the boot camp and after the boot camp. Because now you have that knowledge of when you work best. You're not just doing it because someone else is assigning it. You're doing it because you want to do it.
Yeah, and I think because also, I think I said in my notes to you, I was training to be a teacher, and I did a course where it was go to college for a day, and I found that really didn't work for me. I found it overwhelming. So I think it's finding what works for you. There's so many things out there in terms of coding. If people want to code, there's so many different avenues. You could do a workshop, you could go on YouTube, you could get a book. You just have to find what's right for you. But my advice would be, don't be spending thousands of pounds unless you know for sure that you work like that and that you have the money. And I knew that I was comfortable giving this amount of money, and I spent like money on making like a nice office area. So it's all little different steps. I think we just need to think more like, not blindly go for something because that's what everyone's going in, and we hear a few success stories. If you don't work like that, don't do it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that financial piece, right? So many people I talk to, it's like, I was expecting a job right out of the boot camp. And I'm like, you've got a 6-month journey ahead of you that is a whole different skill set, because you still have to learn how to get a job. And that's the hard piece, right? Like once you get the education, learning how to code doesn't teach you how to interview. Learning how to code doesn't teach you confidence. Learning how to code doesn't teach you curiosity. It just teaches you how to code, right? Like just because I know Spanish or something, which I don't, but if I learn Spanish, learn Spanish, it doesn't mean that I'm like able to get a job in Spain, like in Mexico or Spain, right? Like it's like that doesn't translate. So there's a whole different skill set that needs to be learned on top of the primary skill set of the job, because you're going to go compete with other people who have college degrees, who have boot camp degrees, who have other self-taught processes. And so I'm kind of curious, like, are you thinking that far ahead, or are you just heads down on the technical side of things?
I am thinking that far ahead. So I kind of like, because you asked about like the job search and stuff, I would say I keep an eye out for jobs, but I try not to be overwhelmed by it, because sometimes you see like junior role, but they ask for all these different kind of tech that I don't know, or they might ask for 2 to 5 years or college degrees. I will only apply for things that I really, really want to do, or I think match my skill set. But I think you just have to break it all down, because otherwise it will just become overwhelming. And this is something that I feel that I want to do for like the next 20, 30, 40, however many years. So it doesn't, in the long run, it doesn't really matter if it takes me a year to get a job, if it takes 2 years. If I'm ready, like mentally, emotionally, financially, I have the coding, then it's just power to me. So I try not to compare my journey to other people's, but there's a lot of kind of behind the scenes things that are going on. So like with the networking, with being part of a Discord group that I think I mentioned to you, where there's lots of coders and we talk about code, and it's like an online community, because with COVID, it's been hard for someone like me that's quite extroverted and gets energy from being around people. So to go from that, being in work or being around people the whole time, to nothing, it was a bit like, oh, I don't really like this. How do I exist without like people? That's my oxygen. So I had to kind of curate it online. And in the end of the day, you just think, okay, life still goes on, and life still goes on through the pandemic. It just looks differently. So I went to a lot of like online events where I talk to people and network, and so you feel this kind of sense of community, and you build yourself. It builds everything up slowly.
I love that. And one of the things that really stands out to me from what you're saying is you're really finding people that you have shared interests with, right? You talked about your friend who you're like, I'm interested in coding. They're interested in coding. And they're actually going to give you solid advice of things to do. And one of the things that stands out to me when people want to break into tech, I'll often say like, why, like where, well, I won't say why, I'll say, where do you want to work? What industry, what title, what kind of things do you want to be doing? And they'll say, I'll work in any industry. I'll take any of these dozens of titles, and, I'll work anywhere in the country. I'm like, well, you're just being unspecific. Right. But, the big thing I hear is, I just want a paycheck. I want to be in tech because I want the money, because I'm told that this is a high paying field. And I don't really, someone once said to me, I don't really want to work that hard. I just want to blend into a company. And like, again, to each their own, but man, that's going to make it hard. That is going to make it really hard. So what I like about what you're saying is you actually have an interest, right? You have a real interest in this. You tested it out to make sure that you have an interest in it. You're not just chasing that dollar, which the dollar is important. I'm
No,
not discounting the dollar.
of course it is. Yeah.
Right. But you're sort of making sure that you are finding people that you like to nerd out with. And I find networking is
Yes.
easier when you're nerding out.
Yes.
So
Yes.
what are some of the things that you've
exactly
seen on the nerding out side of things?
It's, do you mean in terms of like what like being a software engineer is?
Well, you're finding these Discord groups and things like that.
Yes.
I think some people can learn from your extrovertedness, right? A lot of introverts are like, you know, I'm an introvert, and it's, you know, I have to build things like podcasts and things to be able to connect with people because I'm so nervous to just like, you know, go do things. But for you, it's like, I think we can learn a lot from how you, maybe even other extroverts who are struggling with the pandemic, to find people to connect with. Like, what has been your process of finding these outlets?
Okay, so what happened was I was just on, so the big thing for me was making LinkedIn. And then I think I went through a phase of just sending connection requests to anyone that had like software engineering in their title. Back then, I didn't even really think about curating a nice like introduction, which I make sure I do now. I was just like, right, you're a tech person, you're a tech person, you're a tech person. I just like would have so many tech people. And then from that, you hear about things. So someone posted that they'd made a group and it was for coders, and I was like, oh, okay. So I joined it on LinkedIn, and then I joined it on Discord. And there's a lot of servers on Discord, but it's finding your tribe and finding the right one for you. And I just felt so comfortable with them. And there's all different channels, and we talk pretty much every day. But what's great is we have coding as our common interest, or most people like coding. So if someone's struggling with some code, you can say, I'm really struggling with this. Can you just hop on a call with me? Hop on a call and talk through it. And that's invaluable, because coding can be quite isolating if the people in your immediate environment don't get it. So you can say to them, like, or to a friend or whoever, like, I've broken my code. And they're like, what? What do you mean? I don't see anything broken. I don't see any glass. What do you mean? There's no fire. What do you mean it's broken? But someone that codes will be like, oh, okay, have you tried that? Or what about this? Or it's a comma, or it's like a bracket, or it's something so small. But it's really important to find people that get it so that they can help you through that and you don't feel so alone. And I've spoken so much about this Discord because it's helped me so much. And when I go to networking events, or when I speak to other people from She Codes or on LinkedIn or Instagram, and they say, like, I'm new to tech, the first thing I say is like, do you have a support network? And they're like, oh, not really. Or they might be like, oh yeah. And I'll be like, well, this is what works for me. Like, it might not work for you. You've got to find what works for you. And people will join it, or they won't join it. But yeah, and some people will join a Discord and not, oh, sorry.
No, for those who don't know, I'm realizing people might not know what Discord is,
sorry.
right? What is Discord, or how would you describe it?
So, you know, like, if people know what Slack is, it's like a kind of a forum. So someone will invite you to a Discord channel, to a server, and then you'll be part of it, and there'll be different groups in it. But I think Discord is more, so it's like video chat, and you can go into a channel and talk to people, like voice chat, and then it's gamers as well. So they might share, like they might be playing a game and then they share it and you can watch it. But it's kind of, when people say I don't know Discord, I say it's like Slack. It's that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's perfect.
But yeah.
And it really is one of those things where, you know, I like this idea of just like nerding out. You're talking about video games. You're talking about, it's not just talking about jobs. It's talking about the industry, the career, the environment, the hobbies that pop up around it. If you like code, you probably are someone who likes video games, right? So there are a lot of commonalities beyond just the work that I think people overlook when they're thinking about networking. Everyone thinks, oh, I just need to reach out to them and ask if they have a job. And if they do, great. If they don't, I failed. And it's like, whoa, there is like so much winning that can be done. And one of the things that I've been saying to people a lot is, like, when you network with people, if you spend 20 minutes of the time talking about sports or video games or food or travel, and only 10 minutes talking about actually the work, that's still a win. That is still a huge win, because you're getting to know people in this field, in this industry, and you're going to start feeling more comfortable and you're going to feel like less of an imposter because
Yes.
you actually know people who do this. And kind of what you said earlier, you're
Yeah.
like, if no one in your immediate circle is interested in this stuff, it's going to feel very isolating.
Yeah.
I felt that when I first started doing entrepreneurship stuff. I looked around
All
me and
right.
everyone was just like, well, we just, or like creating content. I look around, like no one I
Yes.
know creates content. So I'm like,
No.
am I just some weirdo over here? Like what's going on? And you really do have to step out of your bubble. There's that phrase, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yes. I love
And so
that phrase.
I'm curious, like what are some of the, friendships that you've forged while you've been getting into this?
So I would say I've got my friend that I've got at least 2 friends that code quite regularly, and then I have the Discord, my Discord family that code, and I'll speak to on a kind of daily basis, and they're mostly based in the US. So sometimes it's like if I'm coding at 3 a.m., the joke is there will always be someone online because of all the different time zones, even within the States. And it's like what you said about if it's 20 minutes talking about sports and 10 minutes talking about coding, because I love cooking. So a lot of the time, not a lot of the time, but sometimes I'll be like, oh, this is what I cooked. And then we'll talk about snacks in the States, snacks in the UK, or TV shows. And it's like you say, you have to find a community or find your tribe. It's so important, at least for someone like me. I find it important. I think everyone does. I guess people are different, but for me, that sense of community is so important. So you feel like you're not alone on the journey. And also I think it is great to like reach out to people online, whether it's life coaching or anything like that. But I think it's nice to know that it's like someone, when there's no like money as a factor. So you know that like it's a group and they don't actually want anything financially from me. Does that make sense? So, it's more like it's more organic. Not someone saying like, I can help you if you pay this much. That is part of it, but it's great to find a group in your tribe as well.
100%. And that's the difference between joining a community and, joining a mastermind group, right? Like there are 10 billion mastermind groups that are popping up every day. And each of them, you have to pay to be a part of, or you have to do X, Y, or Z. And, I'm not even necessarily against masterminds as much as I'm just like, there are so many less expensive ways to do this. And that's the same with, even the education side of things. Like what I'm kind of getting from your journey, which I love hearing, and I don't think is talked about enough, is like how to break into tech without going broke. How to break into tech without going broke.
See, you've thought of the title.
We've got a title for the episode.
I love that.
And as you're kind of doing all this stuff, I'd love to just hear a little bit more about how you're maybe sustaining yourself throughout this process. Are you using your savings? Are you working any other jobs? Are you, what are some of the other ways that you've been able to navigate this process financially?
So to be completely honest with you, at the moment I'm living at home, so financially I've got that cushion, but I use mostly my own savings to pay for the courses, to pay for a big screen. So I've got 2 screens when I code, which now is like not enough. Definitely need a third.
You need a matrix setup.
Oh, I need exactly, like the Matrix, 100%. 2 screens after a while. I feel like I've graduated from that and need like more. So mostly I've paid for that. And then I think like one of my courses, I said to my dad, can I have this course for my birthday, please? And he was like, which isn't till May, but he was like, yeah. But mostly it's that. And I think actually I caught some of your live stream today when you were talking about sometimes when your bank balance is at 0, and it's kind of like it's teetering towards that, but equally I'm like, it's fine, like I can survive on not a lot of things. I'm at home, I'm working on my future, this is all good. So that's how it's worked for me, but I don't like debt, so I wouldn't put myself in debt anyway. Whatever I was doing, I just wouldn't do a course till I had the money, kind of thing. That's how I am.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything against people that want to, take out a loan or whatever, but you don't necessarily need to. And I think like with YouTube and especially with computer programming and these kind of things, there's so much online, so many people on Twitter, on LinkedIn, posting or wanting to help the community. So there'd be so many things that are for free, but it's just finding what's right for you.
I love that. Yeah. And one of the things to keep in mind as we're looking at all these things, right?
Yeah.
If you are truly interested in the thing, you will seek out the free stuff, regardless of whether or not you're paying for the paid stuff. And that's one of the things that, again, going back to, is this the right career move for you? You know, I think about this all the time when I have a real interest in cognitive behavioral therapy. I think it's a
CBT.
I think it's a fascinating field. It's wonderful. And I'm constantly reading stuff about it. And in my head, I'm like, it would probably be good to get trained in that or get a master's in that or do something along those lines and like actually build that side of things. But similar to you, I'm very debt averse. So I'm like, oh, how far can I go without having to go into debt? Like, how much can I learn? And in my mind, I'm like, I want to prove to myself that I've been studying this stuff for a long enough period of time to earn the right personally, like me earning from myself, the right to actually go pay for an education in this, rather than doing what a lot of folks do when they go to college, which is, well, I guess I'll learn this thing, or I guess I'll do that thing, and like kind of passively moving through it. And so I love how you're approaching it in that sort of like, I'm gonna read this like introductory book. And if I can't get through this book, I'm not going to take the course. Like, I'm not going to do the next step if I can't do the first step. And that like that sort of, it takes a lot of almost discipline in a way to not buy into the get rich quick schemes of the internet and the marketing and everything that's out there, right? Everyone is promising that you're going to make 6 figures if you just do what they tell you. And it's something that I'm very careful with in my marketing of like, coaches are here to help, but I cannot guarantee anything. Like, this is a collaborative process. And so that's why it's like, well, you know, universities even promise a lot of stuff, but I think they're a little more realistic than some of the stuff out there. But, you know, what is some of the pressure that you have felt as you've been on this journey? Have you gotten much pressure from people or the internet or anything out there?
I think not from the people around me. No, I think I'm a kind of person that usually puts a lot of pressure on myself. But I knew from like going back, so when you talk about going to university and passively studying something, I studied sociology just because that was what I got in, the university degree I got into, and it meant leaving home and going to a different country. So from Cyprus going to Greece. But I realized at the end of it, that kind of studying and that academia or that approach didn't suit me. So I've been on a kind of journey for the last 10 years trying to find what works for me. And then I think the most pressure I feel is from myself, because I put a lot of pressure on myself, but not from people around me. But I think it's just like that. People in tech talk a lot about like imposter syndrome and thinking you're not good enough or comparing yourself to other people. And I think the thing is, like I said, like with LinkedIn or with like whatever social media, things might not always be what they seem, or people might portray what like the good things or like an idea of what they want people to know. It might not be the truth, but you can't, it's not helpful to compare your journey to someone else's, because it's your journey, right? Everyone has their path and has their journey and their story. People's stories aren't the same. And so you just have to have faith in what you're doing. And I think it's just really important to look after yourself as well. So like, especially like, because for the last year, I've pretty much been at home, maybe like going to the supermarket now and then, which is like so exciting for me to get out. But you have to kind of curate your day. So I try and I'll wake up, I'll do Swedish. I had some sessions with a life coach last year, a few, and she taught me mirror work. So you talk to yourself in the mirror and you kind of for about 30 seconds. And I was like, really, 30 seconds? Because I'm very literal. So I was like, I put my timer for 30 seconds. She was like, no, it doesn't have to be exactly. And so you talk to yourself. And then I find that writing a gratitude list is very important. Sometimes it might be 5 things, sometimes it might be 10, 15, 20, but I just try and write everything that comes to mind, because there is good in every day. And like people say, I think there's a phrase like, not every day is good, but there's good in every day. That is true.
I like that. Yeah.
It's true. Like that, it might be that you've had a coffee in the morning, or you're having a nice dinner, or the sun's out, or you've seen a bird chase another bird. It could be anything. But I think it's very important to notice that there is good in every day. Don't focus on everything that's bad, because if you keep focusing on, oh, I haven't got a tech degree, oh, but I'm not earning, oh, but this person's done this, oh, but this person's come out of a boot camp and got a job, it doesn't actually, what do we gain from that? It doesn't really help.
Right. And but it feels so good sometimes. That's the problem.
Yes.
It feels so good to be miserable, right? And misery loves company. So people will join you in it. And I love what you're saying there, because like this morning is gorgeous in Chicago. And I grabbed a cappuccino and I was like, wow, I actually have a little bit of time before my live stream. And I went for a walk around the block, and just that like, changed my mood so much. So I definitely feel what you're saying. What are some of the things that you say to yourself in the mirror, if you're willing to share?
I think it's just like, it might be like, you've washed your hair, that's a good thing. Or like, it's just silly thing. Or like, you're going to have a good day. Or you might be nervous about this thing, but you're going to be fine. But it might look weird if someone walks past and sees me, but it really works, because it's just you, between you and you. But that's why I like journaling, because it's just between me and me. And I don't really go back and read things. I should really, but I just pour things out on paper to get it out, so it's not stuck in my mind, because otherwise I think it doesn't help to like things to be churning. Write it on paper, it gets out of your mind, and then you can kind of move on.
Yeah, journaling is fantastic. It's something that I'm always trying to come back to, and it's sort of funny. I tend to journal more when I'm upset. Most of my journals are very negative. So if I go back and read them, I'm like, dang, am I a negative person? It's like, no, I actually sometimes look at the strings of, because I journal on an online app, and it shows it shows you all the days you missed. And I go, I missed a month. That must mean I was pretty happy that month, right? It's like, I used to get really down about it. I was like, I went a month without journaling. How terrible is that? And I'm like, no, I went a month without journaling because I had nothing to complain about. Like, that's wonderful.
Right.
and so that sort of reframing, I think, is always helpful. And I really like what you're saying here of like that, self-analysis and that constant reminders. I remember I went and stayed at my brother's place after college at one point, and he had all these things on the mirror, all these like little motivational quotes and things posted up. And I was like, how lame is that? And then like fast forward 5 or 10 years, I've got like Post-it notes all over my apartment with like things to remind me to like, oh, right, I am interested in that thing. I keep forgetting that I want to do that stuff. Like, even something as simple as like focus, like the word focus, just having that. I should probably put that on like my flower pot here, just so I remember focus. And like, that constant reminder, it's almost like we're trying to brainwash ourselves to a certain degree, especially if you're not someone who's naturally optimistic, which I'm not. I'm naturally more cynical. I would say I'm a realist, but people would say I'm a pessimist.
I say that about myself, that I'm a realist, but Well,
and so it's that constant just going like, okay, wait a second. There is a balance between just allowing yourself to grow slowly, because that's a lot of what you're saying here is like, I want this, but I know it's not an overnight success, right?
No.
And the way you're approaching it almost seems to be a perfect way to combat imposter syndrome, right? People keep saying, how do I overcome imposter syndrome? And in my mind, I'm like, just allow yourself to move slowly. Like, allow yourself to get better over time. Like I think about this podcast, right? Like, how do I get better at podcasting? I have to do more episodes. It's not like I can do anything in between.
No.
Like, what am I going to do? Just like talk at the wall for an hour, which I guess technically I do every day on the live stream. But I'm just like, no one's here, so I'm just going to talk to nothing. And like, and that kind of stuff, I think really helps to just be like, okay, it's a process. It takes time. It's okay not to know things. And in your case, it's like, it's okay not to know things. And that's why I have these communities. I'm going to reach out to the communities. I'm going to learn from the communities, right?
Yes.
If you want to be a writer, you should know writers. If you want to be an actor, you should know actors. If you want to be a comedian, you should be around comedians.
Comedians.
And the same thing with coding or anything, right? And so I love that perspective that you're taking. Yeah,
thank you. Thank you.
So as you think forward, what are some of the things that, you know, we're moving beyond the well, there's one thing on comparisons that I want to call out.
Okay.
Because you mentioned comparing yourself to people on LinkedIn, and it's not even always an accurate thing you're comparing yourself to, because everyone is so full of it. Everyone's so up their own ass. It's like, you know, I made a post today. It was like, you're enough. Also, you're not doing enough. And I'm like, which is it? Which is it? Am I enough, or am I not doing enough? And the same people are saying both things, and I'm probably guilty of it too. And one of the things that I think is so interesting is there's this great example of, I don't know if you've ever seen Rick and Morty, but the creator, creator of that cartoon, he goes, you never go home at the end of the day and watch things by people who are worse than you. You only watch things by people who are better than you, because why would you want to watch something that you could do, right?
No.
So he's like, I always feel like I'm not good enough because I'm always watching people that are better than me and getting inspiration from them. And so he's like, I have to keep reminding myself that, like, as I get better, my taste improves and I watch things that are even better than what I can do. So I'm always in a state of inferiority. And I find that to be so interesting when it comes to LinkedIn. I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
What on LinkedIn? Thoughts on what?
With the comparison, like, we never look for people who are less successful than us on LinkedIn, you know?
No, we don't. And I think that's true of all platforms.
I'm just so curious, like, now that you're at this point, and you've got, you know, a nice system in place. You've got your journaling, you've got your reflections, you've got your studies. What do you sort of view as like the next step beyond this? Like, is there anything else that you're looking forward to, or that you haven't quite gotten to yet? You know, what are the things that are keeping you motivated to move forward?
What are the things that are keeping me motivated? Just that I want to kind of, once I've done my workshops, I want to get a job. But so that's keeping me motivated. But I think you can't be locked in fear by that. It's good to have an end goal, but I think everything else is important as well. So for example, when you said, like, with the podcast, the only way that you'll get better at podcasting is by doing more. The only way I'll get better at coding is by coding more. And you hear a lot of people say, build projects, keep building projects. It doesn't matter if they're perfect, just keep building them. And I went to one event where someone said, if you hear a piece of advice 3 times, then you should do it. And so I'd go to these events when I felt a bit like, oh, what am I doing? And I'd keep hearing, like, build a project, write a blog, have a portfolio. So it's just like breaking it down, which is why I'm doing the workshop I'm doing now, because I'm building a portfolio, and then I'll be learning React, which is a framework that's very popular and a lot of jobs ask for it. So you just have to kind of break it down, have the end goal, which for me is get a job in tech of some sort by the end of the year, but don't be paralyzed in fear by that, by thinking what if, and focusing on other people's journeys, because then it could immobilize you. Because when I get afraid, it gets to the point where I'm so, like, immobilized by it, and that's not good, because you're not moving at all. So just keep making those steps. So a bit like the tortoise and the hare. The tortoise got there and won. Just keep putting those steps one by one every day, consistently. Code, journal, talk to people, code, journal, those kind of things. And after a while, you'll see that you've walked however many kilometers and you're like, oh, wow. But you keep doing it. You just have to keep moving. If that answers that one.
I love that. No, I love it. I think that's a perfect place to wrap the discussion. And I think what I'm really curious about, and the audience might be curious about now, is if folks want to connect with you and stay in your community, where can they get in touch and how can they find what you're doing?
Yeah, sure. So on LinkedIn, I'm Eleni Nicolaides. And then on Twitter, I'm Eleni_codes. And then on Instagram, I'm Eleni.codes. But just send me a request or connect with me. And if you want to talk about coding or just have a chat, or just because this has helped you or whatever, just connect with me.
I really
always like making you. I appreciate it as well. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And everyone go follow her. We'll put the links in the description as well as on the screen here. And, Eleni, it's been an absolute blast chatting with you today and hearing about
Martin.
Your journey. So good luck and, keep us posted on where you end up. I can't wait to hear where you end up working. The company that you'll end up with will be so lucky to have you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. And all the best with your journey.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode today. I really appreciate your support of what we're building here at Career Therapy as we continue to try and explore the hidden side of modern work and tell some of the stories that maybe don't get enough light shed on them. If you enjoyed what you listened to today, I hope you will leave us a review on iTunes. Subscribe to this wherever you're listening or watching on YouTube, Spotify, etc. And share this with some friends who you know are going through similar experiences and looking to build their career and gain some insights along the way. Again, thank you so much for stopping by, and I wish you the best. I'll see you on the next episode.